So the name of this podcast is Conquering Diet Struggles, Insights from 100,000 Clients. Now this is from Precision Nutrition. I'm pretty sure it's from their database, but it's obviously what are the biggest nutritional challenges that clients have faced. So I'll read them out and then we can go through them one by one. So we've got emotional and stress eating at number 1, with 63% of people struggling with it.
Yeah, not surprised by that.
A lack of planning, 53% of people. Cravings, 52% of people. Snacks when not hungry, 51% of people. Eating quickly, 49%. Sweet tooth, 47%. Eating out frequently, 40%. Large portions, 40%. Time to prepare meals, 34%. Wine and alcohol, had a bit of that last night, 32%. Don't know what I should eat, 16%. Dislike cooking and don't know how to cook, 16%. Family and peer pressure, 16%. And an unsupportive environment, 13%.
They coach both men and women, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything shock you there?
No.
No.
Not at all. Just like a normal, standard list of challenges that a lot of clients face. And they probably won't face just one of them. They'll face a number of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe all of them.
Possibly. Yeah. Do you think a lot of people might realize that these are the problems?
No.
And that can be half the issue sometimes,
and
not even being
frustrating. Like the amount of people that come to us and like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like I'm doing all the things I think I should be doing and it's not working. The one that's really interesting is the don't know what to eat. That's a really low number. So a lot of people know what to eat. They just can't practically apply that in real life scenarios repeatedly and consistently.
So let's go through them. We've got emotional and stress eating. 63%.
Biggie.
Why is this happening?
All sorts of reasons. Emotional eating is really, really complex. Often it's what we've seen growing up. And ultimately, emotional eating solves the problem. As humans, we like to be in a state of comfort and we seek that level of comfort. So if we're put in a situation where we're out of that level of comfort that, we're happy in, we seek to get ourselves back into it. So, emotional eating doesn't start for no reason. It starts to serve a purpose to get us back to that place of, status quo where we're content and where
it's a very fast and easy state changer. You feel anxious, sad, lonely, depressed, whatever it is, you don't feel great in that moment. You go and inhale a box of chocolate. In the moment of doing that, your state changes. You feel pleasure, you feel comfort. You don't feel like that. The big problem is after that comes the guilt, the shame, and why have I just eaten 1,000 calories of chocolate, and maybe feeling upset, and maybe then even eating more.
And it's the repetition of it. So what you come to realize is, okay, that did make me feel better. So you're starting to build a habit, and you build neurological pathways in your brain. So this is not just like a thing that you do. You create connections within your brain that make that easier to do because you've done it multiple times. So not only is it making you feel more comfortable and taking you back to that state where you feel better, your brain is changing, and those connections become stronger and deeper every time you do it. So it's a real change that you're going through. So that's why emotional eating is so easy to do, because it makes us feel better, and then we change our brain by repeating habits. We build actual connections in our brain. We have changed a lot of things, and it just becomes the norm. And it isn't a problem that first time, that second time, that third time, fourth time, countless times. It's a solution. But over time, that solution becomes its own problem. And that's where people get stuck.
So what can people do? If you're aware that you emotionally eat, you stress eat, what can you do?
I mean, enjoy playing detective, like figuring out when this is happening. Where are you? What situation are you in? What's just happened? When is it happening? Because you'll start to see patterns, and in those patterns you can start taking some level of control, which is really important to understand that you do have control, because when you have built those neurological pathways in your brain, it can feel very much like you're out of control because it's so easy to roll into that habit or that behavior. So playing detective and understanding that you can change your brain. You've just changed it in creating that behavior. You can unpick it. I like to think of it like a knot. And, you know, it's become so ingrained in what you do. And each time you choose to take a different path, you just unpick a little bit of that string, and that knot is becoming looser and looser until, you know, you've undone everything that you created. And in doing that, you've weakened the neural pathways that you had created, and you've built other ones in habits that you do want and that do help you. So those two things for me is playing detective and understanding that you can change your brain.
Yeah. A big one for me would be first, like, you know, identifying and admitting that there is a problem. I think that's a huge part to even elicit change in the first place. But then once you understand the problem, you have to start actively looking for solutions.
Yeah.
So what you're looking for, if you're feeling emotional or stress eating, like you said, you're looking for a state change. So it's like, what can allow you to have a change in state that doesn't involve food? And it could be going for a walk, calling a friend, getting a hot bath. There's exercise, and there's many things that you can, you know, I used to have a bunch of clients, and work was a big trigger for them. Maybe just like colleagues or the boss or whatever else, or just end the month figures not being hit. It was always just a very stressful time and week. Instead of just like default, get in the car, go and get some food, or just drive home and stuff the face. You know, it was just like, hey, like, let's just like take a minute in the car. And like, I think one of the ladies really loved Kevin Hart. And she just would just watch his comedy on repeat. So I just put his set on for like 10 minutes before you leave. And then instantly, a bit of escapism, laughing, giggling, watching some Kevin Hart, just come from a super stressed environment. And instead of looking to change the state through food, was able to do that just by pulling up YouTube and putting on a bit of Kevin Hart for 10 minutes. And that worked for her. It might not work for you. But again, the idea is you're problem aware. You don't want the solution to always be turned into food because that causes more problems. So looking for solutions and finding solutions that work for you. And those ones I just mentioned, you know, give them a good couple of tries. And then if it's not working, look for something else, because you will find something that doesn't have to be food.
Yeah. And I think that's really interesting. So I think a lot of people are somewhat afraid to get into the sort of coaching that we do because they feel like they're going to have to dig into all these like childhood traumas. And, you know, we're not therapists. That's not what we do. And you know, we stay in our lane because we are not trained to deal with that sort of thing, but we do sort of touch on that sort of thing. And I think that makes people afraid. When you say, you know, understand the root cause of the problem, I think some people are like, I don't want to delve into that. And it's interesting that you don't actually have to, and we won't, you know, we might touch around it, but we don't go into that because changing small things can hugely change the outcome. So, you know, you don't have to delve into why she deals with stress in that way that she does, but you deal with the outcome of that and changing the outcome. And a really great example is that I had a client who would leave work on a certain day of the week, and it was after a big meeting with her boss, and she was super stressed, really highly charged, and she would always go to the garage and she would always overeat, and she'd sit in her car and secretly eat. So that obviously that's a big problem, and actually it transpires that that's the day she fills up her car, so she has to go to the petrol station to put fuel in her car. If you simply switch the day that you fill up your car, you're not going when you're highly charged, and you've totally changed like where you are in that problem. And it's not a problem, you know, because your environment, you're not putting yourself into an environment when you are highly charged where you feel out of control. That's such a small change, and it's not delving into her childhood trauma and why she is responding in that way. It's simply just changing the setting. Yeah,
which makes a huge difference.
Huge.
So second up, we've got a lack of planning.
Oh God, yes. Yeah. This is huge as well.
This is huge. And I think a lot of people just go into the standard way a lot of people go into the week. I'm going to work out this week. Or I'm going to work out 3 times this week.
When?
Yeah, that's the intention. Just like, I'm going to work out 3 times this week, but there's no plan to facilitate this. So it's just like, oh, if the stars align and things all go right as rain, then maybe I'll fit it in. I'll try and make that happen.
Are you going to try, or are you going to do?
Yeah, and then a lot of times people get to Monday, or Monday's the first day of the week, it's stressful, back to work, all this. So, okay, Monday doesn't happen on Tuesday, or something. And before you know it, you get into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you've still not done a workout. The weekend's ahead. There's more stuff, got social stuff going on the weekend, and you just don't get it in. And I'll try. I'll try next week. I'll try tomorrow. And it's I think a big part of just the lack of planning is just a lack of intention. A lack of commitment of like why you're doing the things that you want to do.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't plan because they feel like they can't, their life will be too rigid and there'll be no flexibility and it won't be fun. And like all the decisions are made for them. And actually what people find often is that in having those boring decisions made already, they're more free to enjoy things in their lives. And that level of planning just means that things aren't going wrong all the time, which, I've worked with so many people who have like the most chaotic lives. And I'm thinking, of course you're stressed, of course. Like you don't know whether you're coming or going and you're not honoring your promises to yourself ever because, some things come up as it always does because you don't have a plan. Like it's wild.
You can get so much more done. And it gives you so much more freedom, like being disciplined in so many of those areas. I used to be like that. I used to really fight a calendar, and I used to just be like, I just don't want it to be the case. But the amount of hours that I do in terms of work now, if I want to have a social life, see family and friends, if I don't like work around my schedule and plan these in and are disciplined and stick to that, like I would just never get to see anyone and never get to do anything. So I have my workouts booked in my calendar at the start of each week, and if things don't fully go to plan for whatever reason, I'm adaptable and we'll move them around. But I do have a plan and a routine that I would like to go in with, because how's the famous saying go? Failing to prepare is preparing to fail.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
And I think that really does set you up. But even if you don't work a million hours a week and you have everything else, even just to give yourself more free time. Like if you have a plan and you go into the week with structure, you can have so much more free time and often enjoy those. I know if this is speaking to so many people that if they're meant to have a night off from exercising or not exercise that day and they haven't done it, they feel bad about it and they don't enjoy the night as much as they do because they're not keeping the promise to themselves. And then the next day they don't do it again. Versus that, if you actually get up and plan it in and do your workout, and then you have a day off the next day or an intentional day off, you enjoy it more because you've kept a promise to yourself and done what you said you were going to do.
You haven't got the weight of that thing just like hanging over you. Like I said, I'll do this and I haven't done it yet. And it just sits with you.
Yeah. So it's not just the fact that you're not physically doing those things, it mentally sits with you as well.
Definitely.
So next up, we've got cravings, which affects 52% of people.
I mean, food is so highly palatable now. Like people are in factories and science labs making it as tasty and as hard to stop as possible.
An explosion of flavors in your mouth.
Yes.
That makes you want to go, like as the Pringles saying, once you pop, you can't stop. It's like that with a lot of foods.
All the sayings today, check you out.
All the sayings.
So I mean, cravings are huge. The more tasty foods are, the more you're gonna want them. So I mean, people push cravings and deny them, and again that just sits with you and you can't stop thinking about that food. And really it's about knowing that you can eat that food and stop. You can have 2 cookies, you don't have to eat the packet of cookies. So it's developing the skills and behaviors that allow you to do that so that you feel in control. And one of my favorite things about coaching with BodySmart is when clients finish with us and they've graduated and they've hit their goals and they no longer need coaching, one of the big things that they say is, I've just had this packet of whatever in my drawer at work for months. I haven't even thought about it. And previously that thing being in there would have consumed all of their thoughts. And it was only they knew that they would eat that thing and they knew that they would eat it in a way that didn't align with who they wanted to be. And now they don't even remember that it's there. Like that's so freeing to be free of that sort of pull.
Yeah, definitely. It's a huge one, and it's definitely one that you have to develop the strategies for you to be successful. Sometimes it's right to give into cravings, and sometimes you'll be having cravings from previous choices that you've met that then are not serving you. That can make it more difficult.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got snacking when not hungry. And there's a book called The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter, and he states in that only around 20% of hunger nowadays is physiological.
Really?
And that, so like we're only in 20% of the time when we're actually hungry, and 80% of the time is psychological. So, you know, whether we're bored, lonely, anxious, stressed, tired, emotional, distracted, which spells out blasted. Which is the acronym that we've got to try and understand if you are psychologically hungry.
Yeah.
And if you can ask yourself blasted and go through that, you can understand like, you know, am I snacking when I'm not hungry because I'm one of those things? Or am I genuinely physiologically hungry? As I just said, like my stomach's been growling at me this morning because I've not eaten.
But a lot of those things we do on autopilot because you just think, I want that, okay, I'll have it. And there's no sort of break in between. So if you are, you know, having a moment of bringing unconscious eating into consciousness, it means you're being mindful.
Yeah.
And that's probably a word many people have heard thrown around, mindful eating. But it's really, really powerful because it just gives you a moment to make a decision. You're not just rolling into eating for the sake of eating.
Yeah.
You're asking yourself questions about your current state, you know, why you think you might be wanting to eat whatever it is. And then you're giving yourself the option as, you know, a fully grown adult to decide, do I want to eat that food?
Yeah.
So you're in control of that rather than it being in control of you. And that level of autonomy in eating is huge. And we have a lot of our clients using lots of different strategies depending on who they are as a person and, you know, what will work for them. And one of our favorites is something called Break the Chain, which is very much bringing you know, consciousness into that moment where you'd have just eaten it and gone, oh, just eating that pack of cookies. Crap.
You want to break that chain of unconscious sort of an autopilot behavior.
Yeah. Which is really effective.
Next up, we've got a sweet tooth at 47%.
Sweet tooth.
And there's this really funny meme that we post, and it's I think it's a squirrel, is it? This is the squirrel. Belly. The squirrel with this big belly, and it's like when you're really full after dinner, but you're still craving something sweet. And I am like that. Like I don't know what you're like, but like when I do finish my dinner, I actually want to have something sweet, and I don't know if that's just like a childhood maybe behavior I've taken into adulthood. And Sai, you're the same with this, right? Definitely, yeah.
Did you have desserts as kids?
I can't really remember having desserts as kids, no. But maybe an ice cream or a lolly ice or some sort of ice lolly. God, I'm being really scouse.
But sometimes, you know, that sort of putting the food on a pedestal like that, if it's not something you always have, you know, and you have that one treat, you know, you're getting dessert today, you're getting pudding, you know, that can be as detrimental, if not more, than just having it all the time. Because it is on the pedestal. It's that, you know, oh, I want that, and I don't get to have it all the time, and it's that special thing. So that would be interesting. Ask Mama Moran.
Yeah, I will. I still do like to have something sweet after my dinner. And there was these ice creams in Aldi that I just kept getting that were like 200 calories. So it's like ice cream every day. But I thought about 6 months ago, right, I'm going to try and be a slightly healthy. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'll try and be slightly heavier. So I've actually just been having fruit after, maybe some fruit and yogurt after dinner now, because it's still just as sweet. And I've been having this like honey watermelon lately. Is it? Or honey melon?
Honeydew. A honeydew melon?
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, the yellow one.
Yeah. Oh, so good. So good. No calories in that.
And that's the thing, and that you're just looking at it through a slightly different lens. Like, you want something sweet. That doesn't mean it has to be a cheesecake. You know, if you want something sweet, is the fruit going to satisfy that? I mean, in your case, yes. Yeah,
and then the other day I had like pineapple and yogurt, and that was gorgeous. Yeah, and it's just so there's lots of. I would, if anyone likes having something sweet and you want to go for something healthy, I would definitely opt. You still got a portion control, of course, but some fruit, some really good fruit after dinner is lovely.
I want some now.
Yeah. Next up we've got is eating out too frequently.
Yeah, big one.
Big one, definitely for a lot of busy people and people who are on the go, and just to socialise as well.
Social people, but I mean, a lot of these are interlinked, aren't they? The lack of planning often means people go through a drive-through to get takeout, because you know, I know that's what happens with my sister a lot. She opens the fridge and she's like, how do I feed my children? I have not been to the shops. And instead of going to the shops, the easiest solution in that moment in time when you've got 3 kids being like, Mom, I'm hungry, go out to eat, go get takeout or whatever it is. That's ultimately a lack of planning on her part. So they are all interlinked.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think the issue as well with eating out is that you most of the time, you can have a good guesstimate of the calories that are in the food, but they're often only going to be wildly more than you maybe even anticipate or even can pre-plan for, just because like they want the food to taste as amazing as it possibly can in a restaurant.
It's different to when you cook at home. You might be like, oh, I'll be really frugal with my oil. Whereas in a restaurant, they're like, get it, because it's delicious.
Yeah, and so with that, I think my advice to clients have always been is, if you can, like, pick before you eat, so look at the menu before you go to the restaurant, especially if you're looking at managing your calories and looking to lose weight. And then a really big one is, like, don't be afraid to ask. Like, they're there to serve you at the end of the day. If you want to have a steak or a chicken breast and you want to get it grilled, or it's got oil on or dressing on, ask for it on the side. You can control how much it's got on. The amount of times people get a salad, it's like a 1,500 calorie salad with the amount of dressing and oil that they put on top of it.
And often they're getting it to be healthier. You could have just had that burger and it would have been less.
And satisfied that craving at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, just not being afraid to ask if you want to have something grilled or cooked a certain way, or ask for the oils or the whatever the servings are on the side. Like they want to accommodate. They want you to have a good experience at that restaurant.
Yeah.
And then if that can also align with what your health and fitness goals are at that time, it can definitely make it easier.
Yeah, and we've got some really good infographics that sort of, if you are looking to manage your calories, that will help you make some different decisions that you still enjoy your food, but you've chosen something that is a little bit less calories.
Yeah. Next up, and I think this plays into a lot of them, and is large portions. And we have I've spent quite a bit of time in the US.
Oh my God, their portions.
Yeah, so it's between 30 and 50% larger, I would say, is on average with the food that you get in the US compared to the UK. I remember going to the Cheesecake Factory for like the second or third time I went, and I ordered like nachos, and we would normally get nachos as a starter. And we sometimes we'd actually get a couple of starters, but we were advised just get the one starter with our mains. This nachos come, and it was like a mountain, like it must have been 4,000 or 5,000 calories,
Jeez.
like just off the starter, and maybe got like halfway through this and decided to stop, which like probably already ate too much at half. Then finished our main, which we ate about 80% of, because that was huge as well. And then just got cheesecake to go in the Cheesecake Factory, because we're just like, we can't not get cheesecake coming to the Cheesecake Factory. But I was like, there was just no room left for cheesecake.
What was everyone doing around you? Did you notice? Were they finishing their plates?
I didn't, but it was just like, I was like, oh my God, that's like, it just felt like I'd never eaten so much in my whole life in one serving.
And that's out of the ordinary for you. For everyone else in the US, that's just the norm.
Yeah. Well, you find that you go to a lot of restaurants and it's every drink is refillable. So, people are getting a Coke and it's instantly refilled. I went for breakfast and I got like a standard like eggs.
17 eggs.
Yeah, well, I just got like a standard, like what they would like class as like a full English breakfast.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, they brought me pancakes afterwards with syrup on top, and I had like, it was just like, geez, I was like 2,500 calories for breakfast as well. It was just wildly large portions.
So even our eating out in the UK, if we were eating out, twice a week, which for some people is a lot.
Yeah.
That's probably the equivalent of eating out 4 or 5 times a week.
Oh yeah, like anytime any of our American coaches or even our American clients have come to the UK, they're just like, the portions are just
normal.
Wow. Yeah. Well, we would say they were normal. They think they're really small in comparison.
Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that, large portions, that plays an impact in obviously eating out and the type of portions that you're given. I don't know if you remember this, in our McDonald's in the UK, we used to have supersize.
Yes.
And then it went. So the government's actually done something good. They actually reduced. Is that right, Si? Did they take away supersize?
I think they did, yeah.
Because someone did that Supersize Me
documentary, which was in where they ate, I think, McDonald's every day for 30 days. And that wasn't good for their blood tests or their overall health. But yeah, that got reduced down. Versus like in America, everything's like triple supersized. It's just bigger and bigger and bigger.
2001.
2001,
20 years ago.
20 years ago.
Oh my God, 2001 was over 20 years ago. I'm old. So tips then for reducing portion size. There's a lot you can do.
There's a lot. Buying smaller plates and bowls.
Yep.
You know, you do tend to just eat more on a larger plate or a bigger bowl. Eat more satiating foods, so you will get fuller faster.
Which are
going to be your protein, your lean proteins. Going to be anything that's fiber, like foods that are high in fiber. They're going to be much more satiating than maybe some simple carbohydrates.
Yeah, and double whammy often with fibrous foods that they're usually, not always,
very voluminous.
Very, very voluminous, meaning they are lower calories. You can eat lots of them and physically fill your tummy up, but you haven't really eaten a lot of calories. Yeah. And if you are in the US and you're getting those huge portion sizes when you're out, you can ask for a side plate.
Yeah.
Put the serving that you actually want to eat on your plate and physically move the big plate away from you.
Create some friction.
Yeah, see how you feel at the end of it. Take a moment. You know, if you want to go then and have the extra, you have to lean over the table, grab your plate, put it back. And that sounds like such a small thing, but any sort of friction that you can create between a habit that you don't really want to do is beneficial.
Definitely. So next up, we've got time to prepare meals at 34%. Where do you see this with?
This is a self-limiting belief in my opinion. You know, I'm busier than ever. Like before I had a baby, I thought I was busy. Who even was I? Like this is a whole new level. Yeah. But you can prepare a healthy meal in, you know, I've got a video on my Instagram and it took less than a minute to prepare. And it's because I had planned and I knew that I'm short on time and that if I don't have that level of planning that I'm going to eat poorly. So it's literally a packet of microwave rice. That's not unhealthy. Yes, it's processed, but you know, it gives me a lot of good things. I throw in some kale, I throw in some spinach. It's just all in a packet and I literally throw it in, throw in a protein source from a frozen, you know, just poured on top, some sauce, some frozen veggies. It goes in the microwave. It literally took me seconds. Put it in the microwave, 7 minutes. And in those 7 minutes, I'm back at work or I'm, you know, doing the washing up. Like you can eat really well without it taking too much time if you set it up so.
I used to be really guilty. Not guilty. I used to just come in, turn the oven on, get like a bacon tray out, put a bit of oil on it, throw my vegetables in, throw my meat in, fold the tin foil back over, put it in the oven, leave it on for half an hour, and just go back to work or doing something else.
And a slow cooker as well.
Yeah, couple of minutes, and like there was my dinner made. But yeah, slow cooker and meal prepping. I think some people are really against meal prepping, or I don't want to eat the same food. But you can obviously cook a variety. But I think sometimes when you take that time on a Sunday, maybe to spend 1 or 2 hours meal prepping, and you make all your lunches for the week or all your dinners for your week, you save so much time on all those other days.
And it's one lot of washing up, and not every single day. Yeah, which. Let's be honest, we all want. So there are lots of things that you can do. And if you're saying, I don't have time, it's the busiest person, that is a self-limiting belief that is holding you back because there are lots of shortcuts that you can take. And I think as humans, we think taking a shortcut is bad. That's a bad thing to do. Yeah. It's not. Make it so easy for yourself. Like our lives are so full and there's so much expected of us nowadays. Who cares if it comes from a packet? Like, it's fine.
Yeah. I know one of the things Terry says a lot of times is what would this look like if it was easy? And I think that's sometimes it's a great question to ask in situations like that. Like your problem right now is that you don't have time to prepare meals. Like what would this look like if it was easy? And you know, there might be things that you're like, oh, well, I could have a personal chef and that'd be great. You know, like, okay, let's like be more realistic here and dial that back.
But there are lots of meal prep companies now that,
many.
You know, it's really great food. It's really nutritious. It's, you know, macro and calorie balanced. And that's just outsourcing. That's just smart. That's working smarter and not harder. My favorite saying.
Next up we got is wine and alcohol at 32%.
Yeah, I get that.
As a nutritional challenge. Yeah.
So when I was trying to lose my postpartum weight, I made the decision to just stop drinking for a little while. I knew it was something that I was not going to do forever. I just needed to create that deficit, because it's like 2 glasses of wine, or, you know, it's really easy to undo a day of hard work with wine. I love to drink. A lot of us in the UK like a drink, and it was through the summer. So you want to sort of sit outside with cider or a beer most evenings. That's not abnormal for us in the UK. That's just a very normal part of our lifestyle. So I had to really cut the BS with myself of like, what would I rather not have food, or would I rather not have alcohol? Because I can't keep doing both and get the results that I want. So that was a temporary measure for me, where I was not gonna. I actually undid that when I came on a work trip.
Hey, our work trips are fine.
But you know, it's really, you know, alcohol is really high in calories. So sometimes it is a decision of what do you want most, and sticking to your guns on that.
Yeah, and it can be, you know, nutrient void as well. And, you know, for some of our clients, learning to factor in a couple of glasses of wine or alcohol through the week is something that they really want to be able to do. And we teach them how they can do that. And it can 100% be done.
Yeah, definitely.
For some people. And again, this is like having that awareness. 1 will always lead to 2 to 3 to 4 to a bottle, and can really rack up and add in a lot of extra calories. And then also it's like, we don't make the best decisions when we're drunk.
No.
And especially if you're in a deficit and you're hungry and now you're drunk. Like
and now you've got a kebab.
Or your hands in the cookie jar, whatever it is, you know, it's much easier done. So I think it's just having that awareness sometimes to see that. And just very much what you just went off then is like, you can have it all, you just often can't have it all at once. And understanding like you just took a break from alcohol for a season.
Yes.
But then you've been able to get to your goal, and now if you choose to, you can reintroduce it back in.
Yeah, and it's, you know, different concept for myself than it would be for someone that hasn't already learnt those behaviours. You know, when I'm at my maintenance, I can very easily factor in alcohol within my calories. It's just a lot harder when I'm in a deficit, and I'm not going to be in a deficit forever. And I already know how to manage alcohol in a healthy way that, you know, fits my calories and doesn't see me gain weight. So for me, it's a very temporary measure, and I already have the skills. But you know, for many of our clients, if they are planning, you know, if their journey's they've got a lot of weight to lose, it's going to take them a long time. It's not realistic for them to cut out alcohol. In fact, it's setting them up to fail, and we'd actively probably encourage them to include it, because they have to learn the skills, because otherwise, as soon as they reintroduce alcohol, it's a problem. Whereas I already had those skills. So you have to really look at where you're at, what skills you already have, what you need to learn. So everybody's journey is different. But it can be really tricky to not drink. I haven't got a problem, I swear.
Next up we've got is, I don't know what I should eat. Now, I think it is around 10, that most of us habitually eat the same 10 to 15 meals each week.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we are creatures of habit.
Oh, good, yeah.
Yeah, you know, when we go to the supermarket or the shops, we often buy the same 40 to 60 items.
Just easier.
Yeah, we just do. And it's, so when you look on it, I don't know what to eat. One of the best questions you can ask there is like, well, what does a healthy person eat? And if you just start to ask those questions, you'd be like, right, you've got 10 to 15 meals. Can I just start to swap or curate them to healthier versions that I like, that healthy people eat, and start to swap them out? So those 10 to 15 meals that I now eat can give me a massive return on investment in terms of just the foods I'm eating moving forward. And it doesn't need to be much more complex than that. And then we've spoken about this in many podcasts, that just nutrition is a skill, learning about food is a skill. But it's we're not inventing new foods every day.
No.
You know what I mean? If you spent, you know, the next year just learning about one food, like very well each week, you'd know 52 foods like the back of your hand by the end of the week. And it's
and this is a really interesting statistic for me, actually, because this is what the people in the study believed was there, that was holding them back, right? So actually, if they believe they don't know what to eat, but they do know what to eat, it's actually how they eat, how they choose to eat it is often the problem. It's not the what. And you know, we've talked about it on multiple podcasts of people just being like, oh, I just eat normal food. Wow, who knew? You know, and so they often do know what to eat. They just don't know how to eat it in a controlled way consistently so that it doesn't create problematic behaviors and outcomes for them. So that's an interesting one for me, taken with a bit of pinch of salt, in my opinion.
Do you eat like the same meals on a regular basis?
Yeah, quite often.
Yeah.
Just because it's easy, isn't it? It
easier.
takes decisions away. And like you said, you know what you're getting in the shop. I mean, I take a lot of shortcuts and I have to, as, you know, a working mum and someone with chronic illness. You know, life can be tough and it is busy and full. And so I take as many shortcuts as I can. And one of those things is online shopping. And, you know, we live in a world today where I can just hit a button and go, add all to the basket from last week.
Yeah.
You know, that's very different to looking at recipes and deciding what I'm going to have and making those decisions. It's just a click of a button. So yeah, all the time.
I think that is the majority of people. So if you can look at that and be like, right, well, most of the time I order and buy the same foods. If I just start to change and slowly curate that list to be more around what a healthy person would do.
Yeah.
How much is that going to change how I physically feel, how I mentally feel? It's going to have a profound impact.
And a relatively simple, it doesn't have to be a huge, you don't have to change your whole shopping basket. You just, you know, take a look at it and make some tweaks along the way.
Yeah. And next up, we've got a dislike cooking and don't know how to cook, 16%. Yeah. There's I think this is definitely becoming more of a generational thing as well, as who's got the time to cook or don't want to make time to cook or not taught to cook growing up. And yeah, it can be difficult. It's one of the big issue. It's one of the many issues with the rising rates of obesity is that like people just don't eat home cooked meals as much anymore, like at all, or don't know how to cook well themselves.
Do you know, I'm amazed by the amount of people that don't know how to boil an egg.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. Like,
it's like it's a thing.
But it's just boil.
Exactly.
And egg.
Exactly. So you know, if we're in this place where you can't put an egg in some water and bring the water to boil, you know,
We got a problem.
Yeah. It's tough.
What would be any of your advice there for people who dislike cooking and don't know how to cook?
So the way we choose to think about something is a choice. So you know, if you're saying I don't like to cook, you're setting yourself up not to enjoy cooking. You know, there's so much that you can do to shift that. I mean, when my husband cooks, he makes this like big song and dance about it, and he's setting his like favorite show up, or he's got like his favorite music on.
Like
Honestly, it takes half an hour for him to even start cooking. It's really annoying.
I'm not that bad,
But you know, if you're someone that doesn't enjoy cooking, start like that. Make it enjoyable.
Yeah.
There is so much that you can control within that situation that makes it more fun for you. You know, there are lots of tips and tricks. You could have a rule with yourself where I only watch my favorite show when I'm cooking a meal. Yeah. Because then you want to cook a meal because you want to watch your favorite show, and people use that for exercise, and you can only watch something on the treadmill or whatever. But you can carve that out in a way that you want to make it more fun. Yeah. And also just thinking about it more logically, I suppose. Like, you don't enjoy being in the body that you're in. You don't enjoy the limitations that puts on you. So are you being real and honest with yourself in that sense? Yeah. Or are you in a position where you can be like, right, so I can enjoy cooking because I will enjoy losing weight and I will enjoy what that brings. It's just shifting your mindset about it ever so slightly can make a huge change in how you actually feel about cooking. Yeah, I think putting some of your music on, setting your environment up to be happier in that situation. But then I think a lot of people, if you don't know how to cook, you're probably going to suck at it to begin with. Yeah. And that's normal. You're going to probably burn your food, and you're probably going to mess up, and and it might not taste that great, but you have to keep putting the reps in, and eventually you'll get really good. And you'll be like, hey, I just made that. It looks good. It tastes good. I'm a chef. Yeah, I definitely find, I don't think I'm the best cook in the world, but I'm not a bad cook. But we've been getting HelloFresh,
and that day comes with all the right ingredients and the perfect.
Right.
Every time I cook a HelloFresh, I am the dog's bollocks. I am a chef. I'm like, look at that, because it's just the way it's just presented and the food that it's got. But it's like, yeah, there's enjoyment out of it, and the food tastes great.
And actually, you now know how to cook whatever dish that was,
Yeah.
and you can replicate that. So
Yeah.
that's the thing. There are so many things that you can do when you think outside the box, and you're not just stuck with, I don't like to cook, I don't know how to, stuck in that self-limiting belief.
Yeah.
Get one of those, there's loads of things
there's
like
loads of different ones,
HelloFresh.
yeah.
But, there are so many things like that
Yeah.
if you're open to looking. But if you are just stuck in that little zone, you're never going to move forward. You're keeping yourself stuck. That is a choice.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge part of people's mindset around disliking something is because they're not good at it. Like a lot of people dislike exercise because you're not good at it, or you dislike a certain sport because you're not good at it, but you all equally haven't gave it the patience, time, reps or sets to get good at it.
Yeah.
I guarantee, not guarantee, but I feel like if you become a pretty good cook and make some really tasty food, you'd start to enjoy it more.
Yeah.
But that just takes a little bit of time and reps to get there, and having the right mindset.
Yeah, for sure.
So next we've got family and peer pressure at 16%, which I feel like that can be much higher.
Yeah, and it's really problematic because if everyone around you is telling you a certain thing or judging you, that makes it tough for you.
It makes it really tough. Yeah.
What are your solutions?
Oh God, it's very difficult, especially if you're not able to. If you have a family pressure where family are cooking food for you, that can make it really difficult, especially if you want food a certain way or to be cooked a certain way, and certain parents or other people in the family don't agree with that, and you having to cook your own food, and there's just lots of issues that can cause. We've spoke about, like how your partner and your significant other can have a significant impact on your success because it's helped shaping and creating your environment for success. And, if you've got people we see this all the time, don't we? It's the positive compliments can cause negative outcomes for some of our clients.
Yeah.
So maybe they want to lose 50 pounds and they've lost 30. So they're starting to feel better about themselves and look better. And they've been getting a lot of compliments. And that makes them equally feel better as well. But then they're continuing to do the behaviors to get them further to their outcome-based goal. But then at that point, oh, why are you still tracking your food? Oh, you look great. You don't need to lose any more weight. And people start to say these comments and pass this judgment to someone around they shouldn't keep doing what they're doing. And sometimes that can come from a place of people just don't know any better. It can also come from a place of sometimes your parents don't want you to look good, or your partner doesn't want you to look good.
Or it's pointing out the changes they wish they were making themselves and they're not taking action on. And that can make people really uncomfortable. And unfortunately, whether they realize they're doing it or not, they bring other people down to their level.
Yeah, which is really, really difficult because that has a ginormous impact on you.
Yeah, huge. So one of the best things I've done with clients that has been the most effective, communication is key. And if people love and support you and you can communicate in the right way, then they're going to be more supportive of your journey. And a lot of that is, the kind of things people are going to say around you because you know those people really, really well. So you can almost preempt what they're going to say. So to already be prepared with how you want to respond. What kind of person do you want to be in that situation? What do you want to say? Because if you can go in, armed with what you want to say, you're going to act in a way that is more aligned with who you are, rather than being shocked or not knowing what to say, wanting to avoid any sort of confrontation. Just to know how you want to respond, puts the power back with you, and then you make really good decisions where you don't offend other people. You're happy with what you've said and the outcomes of that. And if people aren't going to get on board and support you, there's a problem there. That's a bigger problem.
It definitely. I think you can look at all of these situations, especially when you're trying to get everything's sales. I know people don't like the word sales, but everything is a sale. Like me and Kelly right now are trying to sell you on the advice that we're given through this podcast that there's
going to help.
Yeah, that it's going to help. When you're in a situation like that, and if you're getting family pressure or peer pressure around certain situations around food, if you know what that parent or that person is going to say, and like Kel just said, then if you can curate your outcome, your answer, because a lot of times if we just kind of aggressive back towards people, or be like, they shouldn't do that, or why are you telling me to eat? Like, you react in that sort of negative way. You're not persuading that person to get them to do what you want them to do. And sometimes that means like, right, I know when this happens around food, or when this certain behavior happens around exercise, you know, my dad or my auntie or my sister's going to say this, or my friend. How can I respond in a way
effective?
Yeah, that's going to let them understand that this is important to me. I would appreciate their help and support.
And you're setting a boundary.
And you're setting a boundary, and maybe can give them even some education around why you're doing what you're doing, so to help them understand. Because sometimes people are just saying things because they don't understand. So if you can take that step back and kind of see it more, right? Like, hey, I need to get this. These people are in my life, and I want them to be more of a positive impact in my life around parts of my life that are important to me. And if you can look at it like that and almost give them a bit of a pitch, it can make such a big difference.
So intention, planning, and communicating that effectively.
Yeah, 100%. And the last, which is very much tied to the one above, is an unsupportive environment. And I guess we very much spoke about that in, you know, at home and with friends and stuff. But this can also play into like the workplace as well. I know a lot of people go into, you know, the workplace and there's a jar of biscuits left out, or cookies, or there's pizzas brought in on a Friday, and it can make it.
Yes, we used to have buffets every Friday, and then someone's birthday, and it can be an environment that people find really tricky, and it feels out of their control. But it's not.
It's not.
And that's really important to understand the power that you have within your own life and the spaces that you move around in. Like you can be a positive force in your work environment. That doesn't mean that other people might not be, you know, eating cake and whatever. That doesn't mean you can't eat cake. It's just priming the environment in a way that works for you. And that might be, you know, moving things out of arm's reach and just adding that little bit of friction in between certain things, bringing in an option that it works better for whatever method you're using to lose weight. And, you know, you can be the architect of that. You're not completely out of control in that environment, and you have more control than you think you do. Yeah.
No one is physically forcing you to put anything in your mouth.
No.
They're just not.
No, and that doesn't mean that it comes down to a matter of willpower or motivation. It doesn't. Because you can curate that environment so that you take actions that you're happy with. And there'll be times when you don't and things don't go to plan, but the power that you have there is so much greater. And again, that's understanding the sort of hints and tips and having your toolbox well equipped. And that's when having support from someone that has helped hundreds and thousands of other people that are just like you figure out those situations themselves is second to none beneficial.
And for me, you know, there's a couple of things you could also do there. You could obviously raise this with your upline, your manager, your boss. Like, hey, like, you know, the way we always get pizza on a Friday, is there anything that could be a healthier option for other people, so I feel like I can join in and socialize but don't have to eat those types of foods? And see if they would. They might just say no, and that's fine. You just know that maybe if you don't want to eat that food, you bring in your own food and you plan and prep for success. But I would almost guarantee in most workplaces and offices now, and I hope there's going to be at least one other person who really values living that healthier lifestyle and being a healthier person. Like, go and spend time with them. I guarantee they're, you know, modeling the healthy behaviors and stuff that you want to. And like find more of your people in that situation, so maybe you feel like you're not so alone in that situation.
And I bet over 50% of the people in that room feel the way that you do and wish there wasn't pizza every single Friday, but they're also just going with the flow and feeling like they don't have control. So often if you're the person that, you know, speaks up first and starts making the changes, everyone else is going to be like, oh, thank God, I've been like, that's been really problematic for me. And all it takes is someone to be that sort of spark, I suppose. Be the spark.
Be the spark. Well, there we have it. That was the biggest nutritional challenges on over 100,000 clients.
Whew, that was meaty.
That was meaty.